Well, I finally got around to watching Terrifier 3, so let's sit back and rank all the films. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Hope you're having a good one today. I'm the movie ranker, and today I'm ranking all 3 Terrifier movies from worst to best. Plus, I added in All Hallows Eve since Art the Clown is featured in that anthology. These are very bloody, visceral, disturbing, disgusting films. They're ultra gory and not for the faint of heart. So if you never watched any of these, make sure your stomach could take them because it gets pretty wild. Let me know how you rank these movies down in the comment section. We'll have a great discussion. Like the video, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on any future rankings like this. And without wasting any more time, let's rank them. So for me, easily coming in the last place at number 4, I have to go with All Hallows Eve. Now this is an anthology film. We get multiple short stories in one here. I really like the wraparound story that ties everything together, where you get this trick-or-treater, this kid who comes back from trick-or-treating and he ends up with a VHS tape in his bag. So they pop it in, and that's how we get these different stories. I think that's super interesting for an anthology. Really good concept to tell these stories. The stories themselves, the first one starts off strong. We get Art the Clown in here, played by a different actor, by the way, so he doesn't completely feel like the same Art the Clown in the later movies. But he does a decent enough job. We don't get the ultra violent gore or nothing in here, just 1 or 2 scenes, and they're nothing compared to the Terrifier movies. But the effects in here are pretty good when it comes to the gore, especially for this lower budget film. The acting is pretty damn bad and everything throughout all these segments, but it is what it is. But yeah, the first segment is interesting when we got Art the Clown, but then halfway through he drugs this girl and we don't see him again, and then we get this whole weird cult with the devil and sexual assaulting these women and stuff. Not my thing. It kind of loses me in the second half. So the first story is pretty bad. The second story is god awful. One of the worst anthology stories I've ever seen. It's an alien invasion segment. The alien looks freaking cheap and ridiculous. The story is so boring, and they try to tie in Art the Clown in a really stupid way, how he's on this painting or whatever. I don't know, freaks out the alien or something. Very, very stupid. The third story is kind of what you come to expect with the Terrifier movies. It's Art the Clown stalking this girl and, you know, killing people and stuff. Just your typical slasher. And I think that's a fairly strong story out of the 3. So that, and of course our wraparound story, is what saves it for me. The wraparound story is really good with that VHS tape, especially the way it ends. How Art ends up out of the TV and into their house. Gets very messed up at the end. So as an anthology, it's very hit or miss. It's not a great movie, but you can see where they got the idea to continue with Art the Clown, because he's definitely the best part of this anthology. Coming up next at number 3, this might be a hot take, but I'm going with Terrifier 3. I was just hoping to love this movie way more than what I did. I wouldn't say it's bad or anything. It's decent, but it was so hyped up, and you know, I just felt like this was going to be my favorite, and it just wasn't, unfortunately. Love the Christmas themes and everything. You got Art walking around as Santa Claus. Really cool. Great music in there. The kills are outrageous. I mean, from start to finish, every single kill is ultra violent and gory. The only bad part with that is I feel like we don't get a big memorable kill like we do in part 1 and 2. This one, every kill tries to be so outlandish and over the top that they all kind of blend together in the end. I guess the chainsaw kill would be the big one in here, maybe, but again, it just doesn't land like part 2 and part 1's big kill scenes, if you know what I mean. But yeah, great kills all around. We get a liquid nitrogen kill. I'm bringing you back the Jason X style. I thought that was really cool. You got his kill involving rats down this girl's throat. Really gnarly and gross and disturbing. Definitely some great kills for a slasher. Like I said, it just feels like every one of them is so intense that you kind of lose that magic, that spark, where the other movies had this big standout kill that you'd never forget, you know what I mean? And Art the Clown, he has quite the sense of humor in this one. We get to see him interact with more people and socialize a bit more. Like there's a scene where he's in a bar just like hanging out with these guys for a while. You got him as Santa Claus at the mall, so I feel like there's more entertainment value we're in regards to Art the Clown and just the way he acts and his sense of humor and everything. Even though he's super demented, he definitely still has a dark, twisted sense of humor. And I feel like we get a lot more of that in this flick. And I think it's cool that Vicky, how she kind of teams up with him throughout this movie in certain parts. I wasn't expecting that. That was pretty cool. And like I said, the effects are really gross in here, just like the other two. But I feel like we get a lot more in here. In terms of our characters, Sienna returns. She's great. Lauren Lavera, love her. She's great. I think I still prefer her in part 2, but she's still pretty great in here. This movie deals with trauma a lot like Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. I heard people mention that, and that is a good comparison. Her and her brother Jonathan are going through a lot of stuff. It's been 5 years, I believe, since the first incident on Halloween, so a lot of time has passed. It's just that I feel like the trauma is handled well. It's just that we've been seeing this so much, especially within the last 10-15 years in slashers, where characters are dealing with their trauma, and it's all kind of done in the same way where everybody wants them to move on, and by the time they're ready to move on, the villain comes back and, you know, they get traumatized all over again. Like I said, it's done fairly well. It's just I've been seeing it a lot in these slasher like requels and sequels and stuff like that. We're just seeing it all too often, but it is handled pretty well. I just feel like the movie did not give you enough answers. I know he has more sequels planned out here. We will get the full story eventually, but at this point on your third movie, I thought we would get a lot more answered in this film. We do get like one answer concerning demons, how there's obviously an entity keeping Art going and, you know, controlling Vicky as well. There's a dark, sinister entity or demons involved. We know that, but that's pretty much it. We get a little insight into the underworld or this other dimension, hell or whatever it is. But we still don't know much about it. We just know that it exists, and we know that there's demons involved, but we still don't really know how Sienna ties into this. We know she's the good versus evil type of thing. She's set up to defeat this evil with her sword and everything, her magical sword. But again, we're missing a lot of answers, especially concerning Sienna's dad. We get flashbacks in here showing Sienna's dad and how he created these characters and whatnot. But still, why are these characters coming to life? How does her sword have powers? There's a lot of stuff here that still isn't answered. And I'm hoping by part 4, or I think part 5's even in the works now. Hopefully there's only 2 more movies and they will answer them. But as for now, it's really hard to rate and rank these films when there's so many plot holes and unanswered questions. But in the end, this is still a decent entry. It gets the pass mark for me. It's good enough, I feel. They definitely got the kills in that down pat. It's just, I wish they would focus a little bit more on the story and moving the plot forward, because it's basically, it's a very thin plot, right? Even the characters are kind of thin. They're definitely more fleshed out than Terrifier 1, but I just want to see more in the future sequels, hopefully. Coming up next, at number 2, I'm going with the original Terrifier. I never thought this one would be number 2 in my ranking, but here we are. I just like the tone of this one, the darker tone. It still has some sick, twisted humor in there, but it works well with the tone of this film. Art is more of a human in here. I feel like he only becomes supernatural at the very end of this flick when he's in the morgue, when the light's flashing and stuff. I feel like that's when the evil entity takes over him or gives him the powers or whatnot. So I like that this movie is basically just this serial killer going around on Halloween night, and it's something that's believable, that could happen. You know, people are dressed up on this night, so you never know who's messed up in the head or whatnot. David Howard Thornton, man, this is his first movie. He gets to play Art the Clown, and he proved that he is the man for the job right from the get go. The guy in All Hallows Eve was perfectly fine, but he really stepped it up, David Howard Thornton, in this one and through all three of these films. He's definitely the highlight of all of these movies. But yeah, it's just his how he's like a mime. He's mute, but he gives these crazy facial expressions. I love how when he gets stabbed, he just goes like and different things like that. He can be hilarious while being really disturbing at the same time, and he has a great balance between the two. The plot, again, is very thin. It's basically just a slasher movie about Art killing these women and torturing them and whatnot. We don't got a whole lot of story in there, but I do like the main character, Tara. I think she's very likable and easy to root for, especially once you know how the movie plays out. On rewatch, I find the story doesn't matter as much because I know what I'm getting myself into. Anyway, the movie is very disgusting, very brutal, just like all these movies. Of course, the standout kill being the girl upside down, hacked in half. That is just so wild. And especially the fact that Damien Leone, the director, is the effects artist. So he knows, he has a vision, and clearly he knows what he wants to do throughout all these movies with the kills. And how he does it practically is so awesome. We get little to zero digital effects in this franchise, which is the way to do slasher movies. It's just that he goes above and beyond when it comes to the kills, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, I really like the kills. I like Tara. That one scene where he scalps that woman and takes her breasts and puts on them is really weird and sick, bizarre, but at the same time it has that like twisted humor in there I was talking about. Just a very straightforward slasher. The only little twist in here is kind of how the first of the movie, with that girl all deformed, how she is really Vicky, Tara's sister, and we only really get that twist near the end when we realize it's her, and her face is like that because Art was eating her face, which is another thing, man. He's a cannibal on top of everything, so... And the way he blew his brains out at the very end because he knew he could not be taken in alive, or he would have rotted in prison or gotten a death sentence or whatnot. So I love everything about it, especially the ending. This could have been a one and done, but I like how they continued this as a franchise and making it more supernatural. In the end, I'm kind of mixed on the supernatural aspects, but I think that's why I like this movie just a bit more nowadays, because he's more of a human. He actually takes pain and stuff in here and literally dies at the end. So I think it's a wild ride. It's one that it took me a while to appreciate. It took me like 4 or 5 watches to really come around to this film. But at this point, I really do enjoy it for how bizarre, how crazy it can get for its low budget as well. So I think Damien did a great job on his first film. But for me, easily coming in the first place is Terrifier 2. I was really thinking part 3 was going to outdo this one, but no, I still love part 2 the best. Sienna is such a badass. You see so many people putting her in their top 10 final girl lists, and which is amazing after this first movie she's in, right? So just goes to show how iconic she has become already, especially with her outfit, her Halloween costume being this angel warrior. It's just so badass, sexy and whatnot. It's perfect for a final girl. And how she ties in with Art and the mystery surrounding it just keeps you invested into the story from start to finish. As I mentioned in part 3, it kind of sucks that we don't get a lot of answers in here. Very little answers, actually. We know that her dad was somehow involved, Sienna's dad, how he had Art the Clown drawn in his notebook, and how he created this angel warrior for her and everything. All that is super interesting, but again, we need more answers, and we just don't get them in the franchise yet, aside from the whole demon shit. But yeah, I think Art the Clown really stepped it up in this one, and in terms of everything from his demeanor to his kills. Of course, the big kill in this one is Sienna's friend getting killed in her bedroom, basically getting skinned alive and bleach and everything poured in. It's at the point where it's so over the top, though, where it's like, okay, they're going so far. How she's still alive after all this happening to her, it's a little far-fetched. but it is what it is. It's entertaining, that's for sure. And all the other kills are pretty wild in here too. I like what she does with her mother, how he makes a bucket of candy out of her head and he's passing it to all the kids. That's another thing about art. You're not really sure what he's going to do. Sometimes he kills people, but other times he just gives candies to the kids and lets them live. So he's kind of unpredictable too. It's another thing that keeps him interesting, you know, Art the Clown. And since now he has new powers and whatnot, he also sees this little pale clown girl who's a ghost of this girl, obviously being possessed by a demon or whatnot. That stuff's interesting as well, but I'm still not really sure why certain people can see her and other people can't. Like Art obviously sees her. Sienna's family sees her. Well, her and her brother anyway, but then other people seem to not notice her. So again, just more questions than answers than we're getting here. And it's not just the bedroom scene kill that's intense. I mean, we get a shotgun blown off a face. We get face stuffed with mashed potatoes. We get some really creepy, ridiculous kills in here all around. And, you know, obviously he's stepping it up with every movie. So this one, he did the same thing. Great kills. The whole final act is awesome. Badass with Sienna with her sword. How she goes from being drugged up to having to fight back and everything. Love it. Love everything about it. My only problems is the unanswered questions and the length. This movie is way too long. It has some pacing issues. It drags in some moments where I feel like you could take off like a half an hour out of this film and tighten it up really nicely. Same with part 3 was a little longer, but I feel like part 3 fixed the pacing a bit. It made me less bored. There's certain scenes in this movie that just drag out forever. One being the clown cafe. That scene lasts way, way too long. I mean, catchy song. It gets stuck in your head, but what the hell's going on with that scene? It's like 5 minutes way too long. And again, more unanswered questions where there's a fire in her dream, in Sienna's dream, and then it ends up in her bedroom somehow. So I really hope that Damien Leone answers some of these questions in the future. But as of now, Terrifier 2 is my favorite film in this franchise. So there you have it, guys. There's my ranking of all the Terrifier movies, all the Art the Clown movies, I should say. I hope you enjoyed it. Make sure you drop your rankings down below in the comment section. We'll have a great discussion. You can follow me on Letterboxd and Instagram. Links to those are always in the description of my videos, guys. Ooh, this was a pretty wild franchise to go through. Probably a bad idea to watch these back to back to back, right? I feel like I warped my brain a little bit. I'm going to need a good palate cleanser after this. Go watch the Cars movies or something. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed it. Like I said, like the video, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on any future rankings. That's all I got for you guys today. Hope you enjoyed it, and until next time, thanks for watching.